I guess it's like extremely high temperature today, maybe damage the internet connection. Yeah, so let me continue. So Professor Jin used to serve as a director at FTC and also principal economist at Amazon.com. Her research focused on information economics and especially in the context of platforms. She also researched on privacy and healthcare recently. And she's covered by all those famous media like Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. So without further ado, let me give the floor to Professor Jin for today's talk. And if you have questions, you can maybe raise your hands using Zoom's feature.
Thank you, Robin. You can hear me okay?
Yeah, Professor Jin, you can start when you're ready.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much for having us. This work is quite preliminary. It's joined with Dr. Soo-Yo Kim at Korea Development Institute and Professor Yoon-Jik Lee at Indiana University. Actually, this is the very first time we present the work after we have the first draft. So we really welcome any comments, suggestions, criticisms you may have in our work. Soo-Yo is also in the audience, so he can help me answer any questions you have. Okay. One second, it seems like it's not working. Okay, let me do this. So as you know, in the past few years, one of the biggest news in technology is image generators powered by generative artificial intelligence. If we look back the history, actually such tools have been under development as early as 2014, after Google has introduced the transformer architecture, which enhanced AI's ability to process complex language. The tools, the text to image tools have progressed much faster after that. So in 2021, OpenAI has created the first version of DALL-E. And then in 2022, DALL-E 2 was released in April. Midjourney was released in July, and Stable Diffusion model was released in August. In 2023, Adobe has introduced Firefly in March, and Google has introduced several versions of Imagen in April and following months, and OpenAI has updated its DALL-E model to DALL-E 3 in September. The most recent update is GPT Image 1 by OpenAI, released in March 2025. So the power of generative AI tools for image generation has improved a lot. A good example is the update in GPT 4.0, which went to public in March 2025. This version of the GPT image generator is able to just digest a text prompt or an image and create the Ghibli style of AI generated images. So as you can see on the screen, this is a Ghibli style AI generated image from that model. And this has sparked a lot of interest around the world. Just give you a sense of the overwhelming demand. ChatGPT users have produced 700 million images on a weekly basis because of this new tool. At one time, the CEO of OpenAI, Sam Altman, even announced that they have added 1 million users in 1 hour because of this tool. So the demand is very impressive. The performance of this model is really impressive. On the other hand, it's also raised a lot of concern, especially among the creators community. So here we give a quote by animator Ishitani, and he's saying that all of these generation is unauthorized. It does not pay Studio Ghibli anything, and it could tarnish the brand name of Ghibli. So, of course, this controversy is not just in Japanese style animation. as we know, 2 years ago, there was Hollywood strikes by Hollywood writers and actors, and the Hollywood studios reached agreement with those writers and actors union for the AI, basically the role that writers and actors could play in the AI usage. However, 2 years later, you can see that AI has already been used in Oscar-winning films. So that agreement does not stop, at least does not stop the usage of AI-generated images and voices. We also see over, I think, at least 40 lawsuits around the world between copyright holders and those technology companies that produce generative AI models for image or video or audio generation. So one closely watched case is between Getty Images and the Stability AI. So Getty Images sued Stability AI, basically arguing for copyright infringement in both the training of their model as well as the production of the production out of their model. So this case, I believe, went on trial in UK this June. So we still don't know the verdict in this case yet, but it's a very closely watched case. If we look at policymakers, at least in the US, it's unclear how the policymakers are looking at this issue or looking at the general issue of artificial intelligence. The two screenshots I put here is the executive order from President Biden in October 2023. So you can see here that's at that time, President Biden emphasized the need to develop artificial intelligence while having the safety, security, and trustworthiness in mind. So he's advocating for a balance between the benefits and potential harms and risk from artificial intelligence. But when President Trump went to power in January 2025, he issued another executive orders emphasizing that we should promote the development of artificial intelligence, removing any barriers to Americans' leadership in artificial intelligence. He actually rescinded the executive order or other quote unquote regulations or policies from President Biden if those regulations become barriers to the development of artificial intelligence in the US. So as you can see, that's the policymakers probably still quite ambiguous on exactly how to regulate artificial intelligence, especially generative artificial intelligence. Well, the market is already moving forward with the tools and the usage in many different communities. So hopefully today's talk can give you some sense of what's really going on in the market, which we think is quite important for policymakers to understand before they can have very robust public policy in this area. So what do we do in this paper? We try to empirically document the impacts of generative AI on content creators. If we just look at this question conceptually, it's actually unclear which direction it may go. One direction could be that we know the generative AI models can be much cheaper in producing images and videos, and that could be much more economically attractive as compared to human creation. And this could crowd out the creation of human creators, especially if they do not use AI tools at all. But on the other hand, the AI tools could increase the productivity of those creators if they are willing to adopt those AI tools. So this could be a potential positive impact on their productivity and maybe on their economic gains from this technology. It could also increase the market attention on all kinds of works. It could be attention on the AI generated work. It could even increase the attention on non-AI generated work just because it expands the market. So a priori is unclear which direction the generative AI would have an impact on content creators. And that's also the beauty of looking at this context empirically. So exactly how to address this issue, we try to leverage the launch of a particular generative AI tool in image generation. This tool is provided by a US company called Annoton, and the tool itself is called Novel AI Image Generator. The launch of this tool happened on October the 3rd of 2022. It actually used the stable diffusion model from Stability AI. And after its global launch, everybody can access it by just paying $10 per month to subscribe the tool. And more importantly, this tool focused on the Japanese anime and manga style artwork. So it turns out to be quite a shock to this community. We look at this by having a universe of all the posts uploaded on Pixiv.net. Pixiv.net is a global leading anime style artwork sharing platform. It's maybe you're thinking it's only attract Japanese artists. Actually, it attracts artists from all over the world. And it has a tag indicating whether the work is AI generated or not. And we find that the tag related to Novel AI is way more than the tag related to DALL-E model or to the Midjourney model. So in other words, as Mr. Dan Kanemitsu has commented, Novel AI really stunned the Japanese anime and manga community. So hopefully we can convince you that the introduction of this Novel AI image generator is a real shock to this community, which give us a room to look at how the human creators respond to this interesting shock. Any questions so far? Okay, if not, I will continue, but feel free to raise any questions. So before I talk about the context, there are at least two literatures related to our work. One is the AI and content creator economy. This is very close to what we're doing here. A number of authors have looked at similar contexts. They have looked at Stackflow or other platforms that share images or artworks. Typically, what they find is a chilling effect, especially on the very productive top part of the distribution. And so, for example, Birch et al. 2023, I think they find a decline in the quality of content posted in Stack Exchange, mostly because of the exits of some users. Similarly, Pucat et al. In 2024 working paper has found that professional photographers have stopped or reduced their posting of professional images after they learned that some of their images has been used for AI training. And similarly, Lin and Huang Fu and Goes have found chilling effect in similar contexts. More interestingly, Zhou and Li in 2024, I believe this article is in PNAS, right? So they have found that the collective originality has declined after the AI tool has been rolled out. And Goldberger and Lam have looked at an image sharing platform, which focus on commercial images for advertising and other commercial usage. They have shown the substitutability between AI generated work and non-AI generated work. They also find that sales shift from non-AI to AI content. Another literature is more broadly the AI impact on human labor. I think this literature is not necessarily looking at artists or creators. They're looking at IT workers or workers in the consulting industry. The typical finding there is AI actually can enhance the productivity of average workers, although this enhancement is more on average or below average productivity workers, and the top productive workers actually do not benefit much from this AI tool. So how can we contribute to this fast-growing literature? And we hope we can contribute in three ways. One is that we have the entire database from the platform, so we can explore heterogeneity effect across different type of creators. We can also look at multiple outcomes because we not only observe the creativity uploaded on Pixiv.net, we also observe user attention to different posts on this platform. And finally, we try to dig into at least two underlying mechanisms. One is the competition between AI work and the non-AI work, and the other is to what extent the creators can differentiate their work by what we call human touch. Okay, so let me give you the empirical context first. So Pixiv.net is the largest anime style artwork sharing platform. As of January of 2024, it has 100 million users and includes 115 million posts. It has quite diverse content. Some of them could be called original work, and some may be based on some IPs, what we call them as fan-based works. So for example, you could draw a picture about about Naruto, you could draw something related to Pokemon, and those illustrations or comic books are not necessarily from the original creators of Naruto's or Pokemon. They could be produced by fans. So that's why we call them fan-based works. So just to give you a sense of the timing of the launch of Lobo AI image generator, because it's based on stable diffusion model, that model was made available in August 2022. Only 2 months later, Anaton has released Novel AI image generator using stable diffusion model. And it has excellent performance for anime style images because the whole model is trained data sets in the Japanese anime and manga style. So because of that, this has been viewed as quite a technology shock to this creator community. Just to give a sense of how a post look like, this is an example of what we call illustration. So illustration, you can think of that just like a standing alone picture. This one, you can see there's a label says AI generated. So this label is self-reported by the creator, him or herself, but it's also monitored by the platform itself. So the platform has algorithms try to detect whether this reporting is true or not. And users on this platform can also have different opinions if they believe the picture is not AI generated or is AI generated but has been mislabeled, then the platform could react to it. So for our study, we're just taking this label as a true indicator of whether the content is AI generated or not. You can see there's another tag here indicating the work is original. So that means it's not based on any other characters or intellectual property that has been widely known to the public. This is truly original from the creator. So we have the creator's ID here. We know the time that this work has been uploaded. We also know the number of bookmarks. So for this case, it has 22 bookmarks. On the right, you can see we even know who bookmarked this work at what time. So this allows us to track the bookmark history, and therefore we can measure attention to this particular work by counting the flow of bookmarks. You can see this work also have a number of other tags here. That's the tag sort of describe the content of the work. We're going to use the tags to identify whether this work is related to any particular IP if it's not original. Okay, so with that, we created a panel data. So the panel data is at the creator months level because we can track the creator ID. We know the time when the creative work has been posted by that creator. And the creator are not the only type of users. We also have user ID of viewers. So even if you do not upload anything, you may still have a user ID. You could bookmark the creator's work. You can give comments and so forth. Okay, so our key variables are the number of posts uploaded by a particular creator. Because we have the AI tag, we can count the total number of all posts. We can also count the number of non-AI generated work or AI generated work. We can track the bookmark history, so we can calculate how many new bookmarks a creator has received in a particular month from all of his or her previous posting. And we can identify creator types by the type of work they have uploaded. If most of their work are standing alone illustrations, we call them illustrator. If most of their work are comic books, we call them comic artist. In the data, most creators tend to just focus on, or at least most of their work focus on one category. So if you're an illustrator, most of your work are in standing alone illustrations. If you are a comic artist, most of your work are comic books, which means it could be a series of illustrations that follow a coherent storyline. We can measure their productivity by the number of posts they have uploaded on Pixiv per month. We can measure the quality of their work by counting the number of bookmarks a particular post has received in the first 90 days on Pixiv.net. So this quality measure, internally, we have a lot of debates on whether the bookmarks really measure quality. We don't know. That's the data we have probably allow us to measure user attention, assuming user pays more attention to higher quality work. We hope this could be a good proxy of the quality, the inherent quality of the creative work. We try to standardize this by looking at the first 90-day windows. So hopefully this could give us a comparable measure between different creations. In addition, we can also identify whether a creator is professional or not. And this is our own definition, depending on whether the creator also posts some commercial website links. So for example, they could put a link to their Twitter account or to their YouTube account. And we think that might be indication that this creator is doing this for professional reasons. They may count on this for their economic income. And we also have, because we have the tags for each work, we can try to link those tags to the particular intellectual property that this work may be related. So for example, we may be able to identify whether this work is related to a particular IP such as Dragon Ball or Genshin. So overall, we clean the data, we can identify over 700,000 unique creators across 24 months. Okay, so the first look we have in the data is looking at the AI usage patterns. We define a creator as an AI user if their posts have at least 50% of the content being AI generated. By this standard, we find vast majority of existing creators actually do not use AI at all. Actually, over 99% of the existing creators do not use AI. And among those who have been active for at least 3 months before the novel AI image generators launch, only 0.4% of them have adopted AI. On the other hand, if we look at those who have been using AI, the vast majority of them are actually new entrants after the launch of the novel AI tool. So over 93% of them are new entrants. And if we look at the AI using entrants they tend to be more productive. Their monthly post uploads are more than 10 times or close to 10 times of those incumbent. However, if we look at their bookmarks per post, they tend to receive fewer bookmarks than the creations by incumbents not using AI. So we think this is a very interesting fact. To be honest, this is quite to my against our prior. We were expecting more usage of AI, but maybe we have expected relatively lower quality in AI generated work than in human generated work. So for most of our analysis, we're going to focus on the incumbent creators who do not use AI. But even if we include the very few incumbents that use AI, results are quite robust because over 99% of existing creators do not use AI, at least in our time frame within the 6 months of the launch of the AI tool. Okay, so the crucial question is, how can we identify the impact of generative AI, given that this is global launch and everybody could have access to the same tool once Novel AI has been released in October 2022. So our identification strategy depends on the separation between illustration and comic books. So we believe the illustrators can be regarded as a treatment group because the AI tool is very good at producing standing alone illustrations. It's relatively easy to use that AI tool to produce illustrations. On the other hand, for comic books, it requires a set of consistent images because they need to follow a coherent storyline. But the AI tool is generated randomly, so they tend to produce different details, and that randomness is not easy to control by the creator if they're using the AI tool, and therefore the comic books are not so suitable for the AI tool. So let me give you an example of how this distinction of the AI usage may make a sense here. So this picture, these two pictures are produced by exactly the same text prompt. However, you can see that they differ somewhat in details. If you look at the style of the shirt, this one does not show the buttons, this one shows the buttons. If you look at the style of the guitar, they are different in different parts. So even if the two pictures look pretty similar at the first glance, many details are different. And that's because of the randomness in the AI generated tools. So it's kind of difficult to control by the creator if they're using such tools. So let me go back to our original slides. Okay, let me go back here. Okay, so because of this reason, we take illustration as the treated group, and we take the comic books as the control. And because we're focused on creators, so we define a creator to be illustrator if most of his or her work is concentrated in illustration, and we define a creator as a comic artist if most of his or her work focus on comic books. Okay, so this picture shows the percentage of AI generated work in the two categories, illustration versus comic work. So the vertical line shows the launch time of the Novel AI image generator. So you can see that in the illustration category, this percentage jumped quickly from roughly 0% to about 20 to 30%. But for comic book, this percentage stay below 5%. It's just a few percentage points. So this confirms our argument that the tool is most suitable for standing alone illustration, but is not very good for comic books.
Sorry, may I ask a question?
Yeah, of course, go ahead.
Yeah, but as we see from the previous slide, yeah, before the launch, there is some jump for the illustration art, right? It
Yes.
could be that there is some rocketing of this style of image in a platform.
It could be, yeah. The reason that we observe some AI generated work is because, as I reviewed in my first slides, some image generation model was introduced before Novel AI's launch. And so, for example, the Stability AI's Stable Diffusion model was released in August. So some creators may have tried to use those work. But when we look at the tags in the AI generation, the vast majority of tags are related to Novel AI than to the Stable Diffusion model or to the DALL-E model. So I think the launch of Novel AI is really crucial for this huge jump here.
Yeah, the reason I asked this question is because I guess that might be there might be heterogeneity between those two types of artwork besides the AI launch.
Yes, of course, that's comparability between the two types of works is a crucial factor we have to consider. So let me show you some picture on the comparability between those two.
Sure.
So here you can see this is basically a summary statistics of our panel data at the creator months level. The first 3 columns are for illustrators. The last 3 columns are for comic artists. So the number of illustrators are 10 times higher than the number of comic artists. And if you look at AI entrants, most of AI entrants occur as illustrators rather than as comic artists. If you look at the number of posts each creator had per month, they are roughly comparable, is 1.37 versus 1.08 if we focus on the incumbent that do not use AI tool at all. If we compare the incumbent that use AI, which is very small amount, their level of posting is comparable there. If you look at the non-AI posts, of course, those who do not adopt AI, all of their work are non-AI posts. Among those who adopt AI, about half of their work are non-AI posts. And they tend to be a little more productive than the non-AI adopters. But the AI entrants are way more productive than those incumbents. The number of posts they had are 10 times of those incumbents. If you look at their bookmarks, this is bookmark measured by every creator months. So this number is higher, and that's purely because they have posted so many more works than the incumbent. If you look at the bookmarks per post, they're actually lower for AI entrants than for the incumbent. So if we look at the number of posts, the number of new posts uploaded by an incumbent creator in a particular month, the upper line here is for illustrators, the below line is for comic artists. So we know illustrators tend to post slightly more works per month than the comic artist, but you can see that the 2 lines are quite parallel before the launch, and their gap has become closer after the launch. So hopefully this answers your question about the comparability between the 2 types of creators.
Thank you.
On the other hand, I think Xuan is right that if we look at bookmarks, this is a user attention to the works created by illustrators or by comic artists. You can see that the 2 lines are roughly parallel up to March 2022, but for some reason, we haven't identified yet that the illustrator attention to illustration has increased since March 2022. And then somehow the gap between the two has become larger after the launch.
Yeah, it seems could be that users in the platform are getting more interested in illustration artwork before the AI launch, but after AI launch, because the low quality or lots of low quality artwork flash in, so that attention gets lower. We don't know.
It could be, but what I'm showing you are bookmarks for the work posted by incumbent creators. So the incumbent creators, we know most of them are actually not using AI at all. So I don't think this might be driven by the attention to the human creation. I don't think this is driven by the lower quality of AI generated works. So but of course, there could be attention substitution between the AI generated works and non-AI generated works.
Thank you.
Okay, so basically our regression is quite a standard difference in difference regression. So we basically have indicator of whether the creator is illustrator or not. We take this group as a treated group, and we have the timing of exact launch of the novel AI generation tools. Okay, so we have about 6 months after the treatment and 1.5 years before the treatment. Because our dependent variable has a lot of, they're like a count of posts or count of bookmarks, so they have a lot of zeros, so we end up using the Poisson regression with creator fixed effects. So let me show you the results. On average, you can see that if we just look at the total count of posts uploaded by incumbent creators, they decline about 10% after the AI launch. If we just focus on the non-AI posts, they decline by about 11%. So this is pretty consistent with the chilling effect we have seen in other works in the literature. However, the magnitude is smaller because this is the average across all creators in our categories, but earlier works tends to look at the top creators in their context. We also look at the bookmarks, which shows some moderate decline. Again, this is bookmarks on the human, on the posts uploaded by incumbent creators. And we observe quite skewed distribution among the creators. So here we're showing you the distribution of average monthly posts for illustrators and for comic artists separately. So you can see that's the vast majority, let's say about half of them only post one work per month. 80% of them post at most 2 works per month. But if you look at the top 1%, they tend to post 12 work per month. And similarly in comic artists, that's the top 1% post about 11 works per month, while the majority of them post just 1 or 2. So this motivated us to look at different categories. Top 50%, well, we separate the below 50% with the top 20%, top 10%, top 5%, top 1%. So that's how we run the regression with different groups. If we show the results in the graph, you can see that if we separate the creators' population by their productivity before the AI launch, this represents the effects for the top 1% most productive creators. And this is the top 1 to 5%. This is for the below 50%. So for the top 1%, you can see they have roughly 15 to 20% decline in the number of posts they uploaded on Pixiv, although the bookmarks they receive actually is positive after the AI launch. For the top 1 to 5% until the top 20%, there's some productivity decline here. But for the below median population, their average post per month actually increased somewhere between 5% and 10%, and their bookmarks have increased as well. So we think this heterogeneity is quite interesting because most of the literature tends to focus on the top part, and they find a big chilling effect. However, if you look at the whole distribution, some of them, especially the below 50% ones, may even benefit from this shock, even if they're not using the AI tool at all. And we also do the heterogeneity analysis by the quality of their work before AI launch. So again, we look at the distribution of number of bookmarks per post received in the first 90 days. And we do the average across all the works within a creator. And we use that to define whether the creator's quality is in the top 1% or top 1 to 5% or below 50%. And very interestingly, the quality measure and productivity measure is very, very weakly correlated. You may expect high productivity work would be high quality. It's not the case. That's the correlation between the two is quite close to zero. And we find across all groups, the productivity have declined, but the attention measured by bookmarks has been different. So we also look at professional creators versus amateur creators. And we find the professional creators tend to suffer more chilling effect. They seem to post fewer posts, or at least relative to themselves before the launch, after that shock. So they have roughly 2% more decline in the number of posts or the number of non-AI posts. Their bookmarks has also declined as well relative to the non-professional illustrators. So lastly, we want to look at underlying mechanisms. One underlying mechanism is that we know the illustration category has received a lot of AI entrants, and those AI entrants has produced a lot of AI generated work. So we try to measure the invasion index from AI. So exactly how to measure that, we try to look at that IP by IP. So because every work has some tag, and we can associate that tag to a particular IP. So for example, if the tag is Pikachu and we know Pikachu is a character from Pokemon, then we can link this work with the Pikachu tag to the IP of Pokemon. And in that way, we can identify 56 IPs that have more than 1,000 creators. We look at those 56 IPs separately. We also categorize original content as one separate IP category. And for each IP category, we can compute to what extent the AI generated illustration work is a large amount as compared to the illustration work of that IP before the AI launch. So this gives us a cross-sectional variation in the AI invasion across different IPs. And then for each creator, we can define its main IP. So this is the IP that appear most in that creator's post. And then we can link the invasion index of that IP to this particular creator. And then we can run a regression for different, with different coefficient on the different IPs. And we can link whether the chilling effect on this creator with this IP as her main IP is related to the invasion index of that IP. So by and large, we find the more AI envision in a particular IP, we see a bigger chilling effect for the creator that used that IP as her main IP. So we can show these results in a graph. So every bubble here indicates the amount of work in, or actually the number of creators that have that IP in her main IP. And then in the horizontal axis, we plot the AI envision index of that IP. In the vertical axis, we're showing the DID coefficient for that IP when the dependent variable is number of posts uploaded on Pixiv. by that creator using this IP as her main IP. So you can see there's a weak downward sloping line here, indicating that the bigger the AI Envision index is, then we see a bigger chilling effect in the number of new posts uploaded by the related creators. We actually find a similar effect in bookmarks.
May I ask
Yes.
the decrease of the new posts are due to incumbents or the new entrants?
And these are all, our sample only include the incumbents.
I see.
So every regression results I'm showing here are just incumbents only. We're not counting the entrants. We only use the entrants to compute the Envision index. So that's for the main IP. And you may argue, okay, a creator may have a lot of drawings and different drawings are corresponding to different IPs. So we also compute an average Envision index for this particular creator because we can link every IP in this creator's work to the IP Envision index. So you can think of this as an average Envision index faced by this creator. And then again, we could have a kind of a triple DID here, have the interaction of this average Envision index interacted with the illustrator indicator and the post dummy. So the regression results is showing that if an illustrator facing a bigger Envision index, then she would have fewer posts uploaded on Pixiv. And she also received fewer bookmarks relative to those who face less Envision index. Another exercise we did in this competition between AI and non-AI is we asked the question of whether the creator would switch to other IPs if she's facing a lot of Envision from AI generated work in her previous main IP. So we generated, we sort of look at the main IP of this creator before and after the AI launch, but look at the portfolio of her post. And then we create dummy indicating whether this creator has switched her main IP to any other different IP, and whether if this creator has switched, does she switch to a less AI embedded IP or to a more AI embedded IP? And again, we can do this regression. This is a cross-sectional variation because we have to create those dummy variables by comparing before and after the AI launch within each creator. So this is a cross-sectional variation, but the variation is the extent to which this creator has faced different Envision index before the AI launch. So the results shows that for those who are facing more AI Envision index before the AI launch, they are less likely to switch. Suyo, is that right? That they're less likely to switch? But
yeah,
if
but because they want to avoid more evaded IP and they go to less invaded IP.
I see. So they're less likely to switch, but if they switch, they will switch to the less invaded IP and they
Right.
try to shy away from the more invaded IP. Okay. And so another dimension we look at is whether there's a human touch in the work. This again is the work created by incumbent creators. Okay. And we use a tag in a creation to identify whether this creation has anything to do with human touch. We try to identify keywords related to human touch in a conservative way. So here we're showing some examples of the works we identify with some human touch. Roughly speaking, Suyo, like we only have quite a minority of works with human touch, right?
Yes and no. I think the way we approached was we started from non-content related text, I mean non-IP related, and we asked Claude to separate them to style related and human touch, and we manually double checked.
Okay. So because we identify the human touch for each piece of creative work, then we can calculate how many works within the creator's portfolio has human touch. So thereby we can define whether this creator has over 50% of work with human touch or over 90% of work with human touch. So with that,
just a clarification question. Could the human touch be added to a AI generated image, or they are all from non-AI generated?
I think most of the work here are non-AI generated because we know we focus on incumbent creators and 99% of them do not use the AI tool at all. But I think your question, if I understand it correctly, might be that's a work with human touch could still have non-human touch part, right? So you could use a computer to draw a picture, but then you refine it with some human touch, for example.
Yes.
We don't know, right? So that's we're tagging this based on the self-reported tags.
Yes and no, but I think the way we approach was very conservative. For instance, if you're a creator, you attach to emphasize that this is hand-drawn or manually drawn. And if it's AI generated, I think audience would not like it for sure.
Yep. So Shen, to answer your question, that's I think we're not 100% sure that's the human touch work is 100% human touch. But given that user can protest or comment on the mislabeling, and we think the definition is okay.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because for non-AI generated images, what's the value of, what's the key definition of human touch? Because anyhow, it's drawn by humans, right? Anything can be, I mean, human touched, but you only choose a small set or set of those manually drawn pictures. That means you definitely clearly defined what is human touch before.
Right. Yeah. Maybe the phrase human touch is not very appropriate. I guess we try to emphasize the method.
Yeah, because I try to understand what it does mean by human touch. It means I mean, I can imagine that all human drawn pictures are human touched.
Right. Yeah. So again, this may be just the choice of wording. I think you know what we mean. That's this is less computerized and more in traditional way of creation. But anyway, when we include the dummy of whether a creator's work has more than 50% with human touch by our definition, we see that they actually has more positive effect in bookmarks. If we define the dummy by whether the human touch is more than 90%, we actually see a positive effect on the number of posts and on the number of bookmarks. So this may partially explain that the human touch could explain why some creators actually receive positive impact from the AI launch, even if they're not using the AI tool at all. This could be reflecting the user's preference on the work that has more human touch as compared to completely computerized. Okay, so just to conclude, this is what we have so far. The first finding is we actually find over 99% of incumbent creators do not adopt the AI tool within the 6 months after the AI launch. So this is quite surprising to us. On the other hand, we do see the competition between the AI generated work and non-AI generated work. And on average, the AI launch has crowded out the incumbent creators' content production, they have reduced not only the number of posts uploaded on Pixiv, but also reducing the average attention received by their post. However, we find those AI effects differ substantially across different type of creators. For the top productivity creators, the effect tends to be negative. This is consistent with the literature, but for those who have below medium productivity, the effect in the number of posts they uploaded on Pixiv ends up to be positive. We identify competition with AI and differentiation by human touch as two potential mechanisms underlining our empirical findings. Of course, we need to do more robustness check on bookmarks given not so parallel trends in our raw data. And we also welcome any idea about other mechanisms that we can identify in our data. And finally, our future work will look more in the role of the platforms in this regime shifting. Any question, comments?
Yeah, I can get the idea that definitely AI has crowd out the incumbents creation. But my concern is that maybe bookmarks are not a good indicator for quality because anyhow they are compete on users' attention. So the attention of users are somehow fixed. Then if there are more AI generated images posted, of course those incumbents creations will gain less attention, but that doesn't mean the AI generated works are better in terms of quality. It could be just people are kind of distracted, just distracted.
Yeah, we agree with you. That's we have a lot of internal debate on exactly what bookmarks capture. We agree with you that if we look at the flow of bookmarks, they most likely capture user attention. So
because for me, the most important question for this context is that whether AI's invasion will generate better images, so that if that's true, then in the long term, AI could substitute humans. But if it's not true, actually the platform will go down, right, in the long run. Because it's like the bad artworks are crowded out the good ones, and in end people just leave the platform.
yeah, definitely that's a valid question. I'm not sure there's a absolute objective measure of quality here for artwork. That's the beauty is in the eyes of beholders, right? Especially for artwork. So I think popularity measured by bookmarks may still be important, especially if the creator rely on such attention for their income, and more attention they get from users, the more likely they may have commission work from the users that may like them. They may sort of monetize the traffic they're able to generate through their post. So in that sense, I'm not sure the quality is completely independent of user attention.
Yeah, I would suggest maybe we can track the shift, the distribution of the bookmarkers, whether there are say people bookmarked a lot, they after the AI launch they bookmarked less, saying they are leaving the platform, or there are new new population that gets more interested in AI generated stuff. I don't know, but I would be interested to know.
I see. So you're suggesting that we look at the bookmarks by a particular user?
Yeah. Who are getting more interested, who are leaving.
I see. Okay. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. We can look into it.
Hi, Ginger.
Any other questions from? Sorry.
Yes, I have some. Sorry, go ahead.
Thanks. I would just go develop the questions of the lady. She, as I understand, she mentioned that there may be some problem with the variable, the bookmark to measure the quality. She thinks there may be some distractions since the launch of the AI generated content. And I wonder if the platform has the recommender system that will take the AI flag into its consideration. So after launch of the AI generated work, the list works with AI flag that will be recommended more frequently to the viewers of the platform, so that maybe it's a recommender system that makes the potential bias of the variable, the bookmark.
Yeah, that's a good question. Suyo, do you know if the
Yeah,
recommendations?
so like the discussion we just had, how platform react to this AI image is pretty heterogeneous. For instance, some platform like Scap just blank ban all AI image. I think Pixiv's policy is on the middle ground in the sense that they do not ban AI image. But I remember from like 2024 April or something, I mean after our data period, Pixiv started to separate ranking for AI image and non-AI image. By doing so, my guess is the platform tried to segregate the market and keep some room for human creators. So, and that's one of the reasons why our data analysis kind of stopped at March, because after that there is some platform policy change that we are looking at.
Yeah, thanks. And I also want to point out that one of the literature that you cite, the ones from Joe and Lee, yeah, they use some kind of complicated way to measure the quality of their works, of our works. They use a complicated deep learning algorithm to detect the novelty of the pictures from an algorithmic perspective. And they also point out that such a novelty has a time trend effect. It means that it changes all the time. You have to choose the right baseline to compare it with. And I think the quality here is also, if you want to measure it, find a proxy for quality of an artwork, I think is quite important, because artwork is quite different from something that you can buy from the grocery. Yeah, even its value by people is changing over time. But the bookmark itself is just like a popularity, not the quality. There's some distinctions here. So here's my comments. Please, hope you will find it useful.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you're right that Stroh and Lee have a measure of novelty, and we cannot do that because we don't have the database of the image itself. So we basically have everything but the images.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's quite understanding, because yeah, it's demanding. You have to scrap all of these things from the platform, and I think we may spend 5 years or like 2 years, the whole PhD life to do this. Yeah, and it's half of his PhD journey.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Ginger. I want to start by pointing out a couple of experience from my talking to two of the top gaming companies in China. And for both of them told me that they are really fastly adopting AI to replace a lot of the content creation, stuff like that. Anyway, so, and both of them tell me that majority of the current content creation jobs will be replaced. Maybe there's 10 to 20% of the designers left, but otherwise it's being replaced. And that is the common theme for those gaming companies, and I think also probably for some of the, anyway, digital content creators, that seems to be common if we talk to companies. Now, that's my my experience. But here, I want to point out that it's. I know this is empirical paper, so we need to respect the evidence. But I think there's quite a bit of confusion right now regarding how to interpret the findings. I want to point out that after hearing this, I have to say I do not understand the behavior of the creators. For example, let's say that for the top creators, the post goes down, but then what's their behavior? What if it goes down, for what reason, and what is the substitution behavior they do? It's not clear to me. We do not know, do we exactly understand the behavior of the users? I think, but I understand the data limitation. We have this attention thing seems to, but exactly how do we define the user's behavior? It's not as clear. And finally, nor is it clear to me what's the computation of the pattern changes across. So I think if you want to make the empirical evidence more transparent or meaningful, you probably, I don't know what you can do, but I think you probably want to be more clear about what does this mean for the creator's behavior, user's behavior, and the computation, and stuff like that. Right now, I couldn't absorb, so it's not clear to me, for example, why the top guys will reduce their posts. What's the substitution here? If I were the creator, why do I reduce my post? If I reduce, what do I post elsewhere? Can you explain?
Yeah, I think one mechanism we think that might be at work is fear of AI. For the top productivity creators, the more posts they have on this platform,
Right.
the higher the risk their work might be used as training data for the AI tool, and the AI tool may generate some work similar to their styles, and that ends up competing with them. So this fear was one of the mechanisms proposed by other studies that explains why, for example, professional photographers end up posting less or even stop posting at all after they learn that their work has been used as training data sets for the AI tool. I mean, still puzzle exists here. For example, we observe their bookmarks for the top productivity workers actually increased. So that means maybe the users actually paying more attention to them. However, they still reduce the number of posts they had on this platform. This could be that's the fear of the AI replica has dominated the potential increased attention, or it could be that's those creators try to use other platforms more than using this platform. As Suyo has mentioned, there are other platforms that completely ban AI generated work. So maybe those platforms are more friendly to individual human creators.
Right. So I think the bottom line is that we're not exactly clear about the behavior of those creators.
Yes, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So unless you kind of can better answer those questions, it's kind of a bit confusing at this stage.
Yeah, that's a good comment. Thank you. I guess that's also related to Xuan's comments. I think we also don't know exactly what's going on in the user's mind. Even if they're not creators, they are just kind of consumers of those work, how their attention has been diverted or
Right.
or changed
Right.
after the AI launch is another side.
Right. There must be some kind of dynamic going on. I mean, if you think about it as a model, then basically there's competition going on. So that cannot be controlled. So some people will use this better. And there's also the user response to this. And then the creator has to make some choices, stuff like that. So there must be some kind of dynamic going on, and to explain the positioning and the response of all those different players. And I think unless you can get that clearer, then it's hard to interpret.
Right, yeah. we probably could look into some of the dynamics within the short period of our data sample, but I think we should be careful. That's probably the market has not reached equilibrium at all in our data period. Both sides are trying to figure out what to do with this new technology. And here we're looking at individual creators and individual users. Their response could be very different from profit-driven large gaming companies, right? I can understand those gaming companies from the cost perspective.
Right.
They are eager to embrace the technology because that can save their costs. That probably could really contribute a lot to their bottom line. But from the individual creator's perspective, they probably don't know the picture we know as of this point, right? That's they can probably only feel the competition in their own corner of the type of topic they're focused on and so forth. So it's unclear exactly how to model their behavior, probably not rational and not infinitely forward-looking.
But the problem is that that's a lot of assumptions, and we don't exactly know which version is true.
Right.
I think it might help to kind of document the profiling of the top one creators, whether they are individuals or they are commercials. Yeah, I agree with Long that actually it's quite strange why they didn't change, why they don't adopt AI if they are top creators, because they should be capable of doing that.
I don't know. The top creators could be very good at traditional ways, right? That does not mean their cost of learning the new technology is always the lowest.
Yeah, but if they're individuals, it can be explained because individuals are difficult to use AI, adopt AI because their habits. But if they are firms, actually they may embrace the new technology, right? So what's their their artworks profiling? What kind of focus they have before the AI launch, and do they change in the more detailed information about them might helpful to the audience to understand what's going on.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Thank you, Jen.
Hi, Ginger.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Yeah, so maybe you mentioned that, but I missed that. So could you elaborate more on the business model of this platform? Like, for example, for the creators on this platform, if they post more and if they get more like attention, like will they get like paid, or is it a purely like volunteer driven like community? So yeah, I think this is kind of related to the points raised by the other like audiences. Yeah.
Maybe I can answer.
Yeah, Suyo, if you can chime in.
Sure. So basically, from creators' perspective, their motivation to upload posts is to kind of advertise them. For instance, it's very common business model that you post some of illustrations and post a link to a commercial website that you can buy remaining illustrations here, or you can buy my books here, or you can support me financially here, or I'm getting paid requests here, something like that. So that's the basic motivation for professional creators we are looking at. And of course, some amateur creators want to gain attention, want a good comment and feedback about their work. And from platform's perspective, I think they get some commission when their internal paid request is going on. That's one thing. And the other thing is from viewers, they take some commission by providing some convenient functions. For instance, sorting posts by bookmark. This is paid function. Free users cannot use that. And there are some advertising revenue from platform perspective.
Thank you. That makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
So there are any other questions from the audience? If not, we are kind of over time. Maybe we can call the end of today.
Thank you so much, Robin. Thank
Okay, yeah.
for your valuable
Thank
time.
you again, Professor Jin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. So see you guys probably in 2 weeks. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.